all right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of the Lights of Botch podcast. It's your boy, well, you already know, the Prince of Botch, man. Your boy, Dwayne. We are in the building with yet another dope episode of Lights of Botch. I believe this is episode 29. We almost at 30 episodes, man. It's crazy how fast we're rolling with this thing, man. Like, it's just crazy. But once again, you already know we back. We got guests on top of guests on top of guests. And I am so happy to introduce a really, really dope guest in the house today. And man, really, this guy doesn't need much introduction. I really don't have to do much introduction. But, you know, your boy likes to give as brief dope introductions as possible. So, man, allow me to introduce a gentleman that a lot of people really, really know from one of my favorite tag teams. You know what I mean? A tag team I know as the Prime Time Players, baby, because we're getting millions of dollars. But, you know, you may also know him from this really, really dope group. You know, I believe it was a really dope group that took over the WWE at one good time by the name of the Nexus. Yes, the good old Nexus, man. Yeah, that's a throwback for you guys out there because I know I really do enjoy that group myself. But also, man, I mean, what more can I say? This man is a former WWE Tag Team Champion. My friend, my man, Mr. Darren Young, also known as Fred Rosser. How you doing, good sir?
No, I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me. I always say, don't die with the story and you tell it. And what an introduction. I do a podcast myself, Pro and Bro Wrestling. And our most recent guest was actually a former member of the Nexus, Michael Tarver. So probably the first member of the Nexus was Heath. So I'm kind of running it down, interviewing each one as to who my favorite was. Heath and I always be boys, you know, so he was like really, really my close friend. I was close with everyone, but Heath was number one, Tarver was number two. So having an introduction every week doing a podcast, it's challenging, man. It's challenging. So a lot of respect for you and thanks for having me.
Hey, man, you know, it's definitely a thing. People have been telling me I kind of have a knack for this thing. And I guess a couple of episodes in, I kind of just kept it going and said, you know what, we're going to do this thing. But man, welcome to the show. It is so great. Such an honor to have you and interview and talk with you today, man. And wow, I don't even know where to really get started. Let's just start with, how have you been, man? Like, how is life treating you? How have you been holding up in the current pandemic situation we've been dealing with and kind of rebuilding from lately? Like, what's been going on with you, sir?
Well, before I give you the 411 on what's been going on with me, for me, doing a podcast is like therapy because I've been on the outside. I've experienced it on the inside. Now I'm back on the outside, kind of, sort of. I did their recent YouTube show, network show, The Bump. So I still have a relationship with WWE. I'm not on the ban list, you know. So for me, doing a podcast is like therapy. So like I said, I say daily, don't die with the story and you tell it. So, you know, what's been keeping me sane during this pandemic is my family, my god babies, and get my workouts in. Today's like my off day. My Sundays are my Monday, but I still get my stretching in and all that stuff because since the pandemic, I haven't wrestled since December. So that whole saying, if you don't use it, you lose it. One of the first things to tighten up on athletes are their hips and stiffness. So there's no ring available for me to kind of keep my wind up. So I've got my foot ladder. I've got my bands. I haven't been to any gyms yet because I just wanted to, you know, wait it out because numbers have been spiking. So again, what's been keeping me sane are my workouts and being with my god babies. I always say health as well.
That is awesome, man. And I mean, you know, fitness, you know, every athlete I've had so far that I've been able to talk to pretty much since this has started and what's been going on since, man, I've really just loved to hear their stories of how they've just been, you know, keeping in shape and staying motivated because a season like this can definitely try to take you off your motivation. And I'm like you, man. I'm thankful for a platform like this, a podcasting platform to just talk to dope people like yourself and really just like have these one-on-ones, man, where it's like, hey, let's love life, enjoy life. And I love that motto that you have. You know what I mean? Like that is such a great motto to live by because everybody got some type of story to tell, you know, and you want to make sure you keep on telling it. You know what I mean? So that is so dope. So man, like what keep updating us on what's been going on with you, man. I mean, I'm glad to see podcasting is definitely keeping you in a very humble and safe place, man. It's a beautiful thing to chat and talk to people. But you know, what's some goals, you know, or what's some things you plan on doing once as things are getting back to a semi-norm here?
Well, one of the goals I just accomplished before the pandemic was I can honestly say I'm the first WWE superstar to ever step onto a off-Broadway theater stage.
Ooh.
All of January, February, up until Valentine's Day, I was in New York working on a musical about
Yes.
marriage equality called Little House on the Ferry. And at the moment, we're looking for a live streaming network to pick it up. So that was a lot of fun doing, very tiring. My work ethic is a little bit different than people that have experience in off Broadway. And what it is it's a reality TV project. It's reality TV and theater go head to head. And they document my life, fish out of water store. Hey, let's take this wrestler and put him in a musical where I had no experience singing, dancing, only acting is from WWE. So this is like, I'm used to live combat theater, and this is a whole different ball game. And I'm 36. At 26, I wouldn't have taken on the project because one, I wasn't out publicly, and two, theater gets this bad stigma that people that do theater are gay and all that stuff. So at 36, I'm like, why not? And one of my biggest inspirations to go forward with doing this musical was Chris Jericho, because he had experience in Dancing with the Stars and all that stuff. So I looked at it as, well, if he can do it, so can I. And he was a big inspiration, and he knows that. So right before the pandemic, that was an incredible moment for me that I accomplished. I hit a home run with it. It was in front of a packed theater crowd. And you can tell when you're doing your job when I'm at a stage 18 years plus in the business where we listen to the people. If they're not reacting, no need to rush and do more. Just be calm, be cool, tell that story. Eventually, if you're a good storyteller, people get behind it. And in a musical, I could hear the people because it was a love triangle and I was one of the leads chasing love. And I could hear the people cheering for me, you know, after I did my solo by myself on stage, a solo that I hit a home run with. And to hear the people cheer for me made me very emotional. I'm a grown man, 36. And when I walked off the stage, people that have experience in theater, I went up to them. I was like, look at my eyes. I'm crying my eyes out. I got to be on stage in a couple more minutes. I'm putting eye drops in because my eyes are bloodshot because I'm so happy that I had just hit a home run on a solo. And the girls that worked with me said, well, this is why we do this. And it's the same thing with wrestling. I do what I do. Sometimes I say, why do I beat myself up? Well, it's because my fight, is much more bigger than in the ring now. It's outside of the ring, fighting bigotry and hatred and trying to be the voice of the voiceless when it comes to not only just the LGBTQ community, but anyone that gets bullied for various reasons. I might get bullied because you have a speech impediment. You might get bullied because of the color of your skin. But you know what? In order to be strong and successful, you got to block the hate. And that's when my whole movement comes into play. It's the next middle finger, it's the equality for all sign. Like, you tell me I can achieve my dreams, but instead of flipping them off, block the hate. And it's a universal movement that, is just it's not about me, it's about the masses. There's
Yeah.
7 billion plus people on this planet. So anything I share on my social media, it's to motivate and educate the masses. You know, I've got a lot of work to do. I'll share the same block the hate picture with me doing this with a bunch of kids or by
Mhm.
myself. I'll share it constantly because those 7 billion plus people didn't see it. So we've got
Yeah.
work to do. And I always say, block the hate, spread the word, and strengthen numbers because I can't do it by
Yes.
myself.
Yes.
Um, there are tons of superstars. You know, I always say you have some good dance partners and you have some not so good dance partners, but the ones
Yeah.
that mattered, like Randy Orton,
Yeah.
Big Show, Sheamus,
Yes.
Titus, my main man, those guys made it a lot easier for me to come out and walk into a locker room and be comfortable.
Yeah.
Coming out, I became more friends with Randy Orton than ever. You know, I haven't been with
Yeah.
WWE since 2017, and anytime I can go backstage and say, "Hey, Randy, you mind if we get a money shot?" You know, he's it takes 20 minutes to take a picture because he's worried about if it's right for me. You know, that's the type of
Mhm.
person he is. You know,
Yeah.
is the pose right? Should it be like this? Should it be like this? Like
Yeah.
Randy doesn't have to do that, but he's real. You know, and
Yeah.
someone like that has my back and a plethora of other people. That's all you need when it comes to the support system. Because
Yes.
I always say that if they don't know you personally, don't take it personal.
Come on, man. And that is so awesome to really hear. And that was a great transition. But before I even get a little bit more into what your
Yeah,
coming out story, I just want
yeah.
to
I'm
touch on
sorry.
the fact.
Sorry. I skip around. I always say CTE, CTE. So when I
Is
get
it?
going, I get going.
Yeah.
Sometimes I gotta pull myself back. So yeah, just like with my podcast, for me,
Hmm.
there's no format. We skip
Yeah.
around.
Skip around.
So
Yeah.
yeah, but you keep us on track, please.
Yeah, hey, no, we love that, man, because I love allowing the guests to tell stories, man. It's a beautiful thing. I love to listen, but then my listeners know I'll talk too. But I mean, for me, I just with these questions, man, I definitely had to touch on a point that you made when you were talking about stepping into Broadway for the first time like that, and it's such a great thing to see you thriving beyond wrestling because what's really important is a lot of times I know as a fan and someone who really like continues to learn about the business. I've been watching wrestling since I was, man, probably like 7, and I've always been into it, and I've always been knowledgeable, but like to learn things and then really wonder about those that when they leave the company, and they you wonder like, okay, is there a withdrawal stage? Some people kind of go through a relapse, just all kind of things where it's like, man, what am I gonna do now? In the same cases like football, NFL, NBA, when you're not doing what you love anymore, you kind of get into these things. And I know some have a hard time, and it breaks my heart when I've seen some of the stories of people who have been like suffering. But then I love the success stories of people who are like, like yourself or like a Ryback or somebody that's, left the business sometime. It's only been a few years and they're just succeeding and flourishing in their own way. So it's great to see you step into something like that, man. And I'm wishing complete best for you as that continues to grow, man, because I know that's going to be phenomenal. Broadway is never an easy thing to do. So I can only imagine because for a second there, I was about to be like, Mr. Rosser, you got a voice that I don't know about, man? Like, was there a hidden talent there somewhere? Like.
I was like Brian McKnight or Tyrese. I shouldn't mention Tyrese's name.
Yeah.
The Rock hates him, you know. But
Oh
anyway,
man.
I always say, and by the way, it was Sing Talk. So
Sing talk.
I
Okay.
Sing Talk. If you know what that is, I
Yeah.
learned it recently. But I always say Michael Jordan can't play forever. Not saying that I'm Michael Jordan of wrestling, but there
Hmm.
comes a time when my grandfather always says, "One monkey don't stop no show," and my
Yeah.
grandfather just turned 95 years old, so
Oh
he's
wow.
like a lot of his wisdom. I take and I use, I use when I speak to the masses all over the world, sharing my
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, you know, to be able to just step onto Broadway,
Hmm.
we all have those hidden blocks, and then
Yeah.
once we are able to just let loose and open up and unlock those blocks, you get access to cool stuff. You get
Yeah.
access to moments that you didn't think that you could accomplish, but did. So,
Yeah.
uh, with my social media, I always tell people I want people to see me on my social media or in the ring and say, well, if he can do it, so can I. And
Yeah.
me going back to the whole Michael Jordan can't play forever.
Mhm.
Nothing lasts with WWE. It's the
Yeah.
revolving door. Revolving
Yeah.
door. Everyone always comes back.
Yeah.
Uh, so I had to keep it moving, and I've done some of my best work on the independents, working
Yes.
quality, not quantity. I've done all
Yes.
the quantity shows. When you first start off wrestling, I
Mhm.
say stumble and fall, get up, stumble and fall. Just keep doing it, keep getting those reps in, and then
Come
there
on.
comes a point where quality is more important than quantity. And
Yes.
for example, Jake Atlas, who's making moves in NXT.
Mhm.
I've had great work with him. I've had great work with Sean Spears.
Yes.
The one thing about Sean Spears is that you know the biggest reward you can get from a peer is that when you're done with the match and you come to the back and then he follows you after and he says, man, I needed that. That
Yeah.
that that means a lot. That means that, man, you made him work. You put
Yes.
in the work. Everything clicked. Sean's
Yes.
great at what he does. I'm great at what I do in the ring. So when you get
Yes.
two people that just know their way around the ring, you create magic. And
Yes.
again, I've had some of my best work where I'm not doing 5 to 7 minute matches, because when you do
Mhm.
5 to 7 minute matches on TV, you don't realize it, but to us, it's a sprint.
Yes.
It's a shorter time, but when do you ever see Randy in a 5 or 7 minute match? Usually, when you
Mm.
get 20, 25 minutes, you can take your time with the reactions. There's
Yes.
beats and moments, not only on a Broadway stage, not
Mhm.
only behind a camera on a set,
Mhm.
also in the ring, you know? So
Uh-huh.
you have to do commentary in your head. You have to kind of
Yes.
like, when you're on the independents, just take your time, tell a story, and that's why Randy's one of the best. Uh, and that's why I've had some of my best work on independents, because I'm not doing sprint matches, which are
Yes.
great. You get tired, but you just not got to learn how to work those matches so they
Yes.
can tell a story and make sense.
Yes, yes, and that's amazing, man. I mean, just in knowing, I can tell that wisdom, that veteranship on you, man. It just drips, bro. Like,
It's
that's.
funny.
Go
Sorry to
ahead,
cut you off. It's
go ahead,
funny that
brother.
you say It's funny you say veteran, man, because that's one thing I tell the interviewer that's interviewing me when they say
Mhm.
former WWE superstar. I
Yeah,
put my time in. It started in 2003. I started wrestling in 2002. My journey with WWE started in 2003, and from 2003 to 2009, out of 75 guys and girls from all over the world, I earned my contract with WWE. So it wasn't
yes,
easy. I had to pay to do a tryout. So I
yes,
know what it's like to, be a weekend warrior, scooping
yes,
ice cream on the weekdays, running an ice cream store so you could wrestle and do tryouts on the weekend.
yes.
So it was something I wanted to do since not only I came out the womb,
Yeah.
but my last sentence in high school in my yearbook said WWF, here I come. So
Mm-hmm.
I pursued it with laser like focus. And,
Yes.
my dream came true May 4th, 2009. Uh, the day I stepped foot inside the training facility at Tampa, Florida, FCW at the time, it was June 25th, 2009, the same day Michael Jackson died. So it's just like all these
Wow.
moments are moments I'll never forget. So from
Yes.
2009 to 2017, I had a long career with WWE that I'm very, very
Mm.
proud of. And
Yes.
that's why I like to call myself a veteran, because former just sounds washed up. You don't say
Yeah. Yeah.
for, former Marine. You don't say that. You say
Yeah.
Marine veteran, you know?
Yes. Yes.
So that whole former sounds washed up to me, because I always say I still got a lot left in the tank. And
Oh yeah.
after this pandemic, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. But
Come
like I say,
on.
I stay ready, so I ain't got to get ready. So health
Come
as
on.
well.
That's true, man. And I love how you said veteran because, from now on, I'm just going to continue to introduce all of my guests that way, no matter what company. You know what I mean? Like, I love how you put that. And that's great because I, I've learned and seen how many, even ones that finally get to a main roster, they're all veterans. Every wrestler is a veteran, no matter what company and what
Mm-hmm.
level, because it's so much work put into this, and I've had the pleasure of interviewing indie stars, mainstream stars, like however you put it, man. But your attitude, man, is just so great. You know what I mean? And I love it, man. It, I had the pleasure of interviewing WWE superstar R-Truth earlier in a couple episodes here, and he was just as humble as you, man. I love the humbleness that comes from a lot of superstars that come from that branch like that, man, just to show like, I would never have anything bad to say because, you got fans, some fans that internet fans, I guess, IWC, I'm sure you're familiar with them, and just like
Mm-hmm.
how it's just like, man, like it kind of make WWE seem like it's such a horrible company to work for a lot of times. And I know no company is perfect per se, but
Yes.
like when I hear superstars like yourself or superstars like Truth and everybody that like really just kind of speak of it in a highlight, no matter where they are, what their position is, like it shows, that it's the person, you know what I mean, like the mindset of that person and how they feel, and such positivity coming from you, man, and I love that. Keep that energy going, man, because it's a beautiful thing to see that maturity from you, man, and that veteranship. Like I said, just grinding it out. So let's talk about because it is Pride Month, definitely, and it's very special having you on this episode, because of the fact that I definitely wanted to be able to talk with you about your experience with that. Like, you literally were bragging about a certain amount of superstars that, were comforting and embracing of you in that time. Talk about what that was like, because I did some research and I knew at that time when you came out, like I knew there were other stars that were prior to you who have come out over the years, like Orlando Jordan and Pat Patterson, just different superstars from the WWE branch. But what it noted, was that you were actually the first superstar that was currently still signed with the company at the time when you decided to come out, versus those before you who kind of did it a little bit after the fact. What was that experience like for you? What did that do for you? Was there nerves there, or how did that work out?
That's correct. I say I'm not the first and I'm not the last, but I am a trailblazer. And by me being the first openly gay WWE superstar, I've been able to pave the way for other LGBTQ athletes in wrestling and beyond to go after their dreams and not allow the opinions of others to derail them on their journey to greatness.
Yes.
And by coming out first, I've made it a duty for other LGBTQ athletes that they do have a duty to instill confidence in our youth and to lead by example. But coming out wasn't easy. Let me just say, first and foremost, it wasn't easy at all. I came out to my family 2 years before I made my announcement to TMZ, and I think I hid it pretty well. I hid it pretty well in the world 30 years. And just imagine, how old are you?
I'm actually 30 myself, brother. I just turned 30 this
30.
year. Yes, sir.
Just imagine 30 years old, living your life, not being yourself. Having to cut promos like this to make your voice sound more masculine, more deep, because you don't want to be perceived in a certain way.
Yeah.
I don't have to do that anymore. And for the longest, I hid, and I had finally achieved my dreams of being a WWE superstar. But I also found love too, and I had to sacrifice coming out to inspire others to be and accept themselves. I made a huge sacrifice. And I said what I said to TMZ, and I said when I walked away, I'm like, oh my God, what did I just do? Because at the time, I came out to TMZ when we didn't have a relationship with TMZ. Now TMZ has a relationship because they want to make sure they know what news is breaking. And it is what it is. When you're under WWE's conglomerate, you have to literally abide by their rules or you perish. So when I came out, I didn't think my story was a big deal until, of all people, the icon Cher. You're 30 years old. I think you should know who Cher
Yes,
is.
sir.
She's an icon in the LGBTQ community.
Mm-hmm.
She reached out to me on social media in the DM on Twitter. I screenshot the message. I still have it to this day. And she said, because of her hearing my story, one of her friends who's a big wrestling fan came out. So she thanked me. And it was
Wow.
that minute I realized that my story was a big fucking deal. And that's
Yes.
why I always say daily, don't
Yes.
die with a story and you tell it. So
Yes.
I remember Mark Henry, even before I came out, I was
Yeah.
new to the roster. NXT, the first season, all of us up there being hazed like crazy. And Mark Henry looked at me. He's very long-winded, and
Mhm.
I'm a I'm gonna say to you what Mark Henry said to me. Hey, why you got your hair like that?
Mm.
It makes you look gay, you know that. And when he said that, I'm like, uh, uh, Mark, I'm just trying to look different. I'm just trying to stand out. That stuttering kicked in that I had.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to stand out. And then fast forward to when I came out, he was one of the first people to call me up and say, "Hey, man, SummerSlam weekend in the hotel. Come to the green room." And he said, "Man, how come you didn't tell me?" I was like, "Because I was fearful of you, Mark. Fearful of you." He's like, "Man, I got cousins that are gay. I don't care. You can drop the if I drop the soap, you can come up behind me if you want to." I said, "Mark, please, man, get the heck out of here," you know. So that's the kind of relationship from then on that we had, and
Yeah.
from then on, anytime we were in Texas, we didn't have to stay in a hotel. We would stay at Mark Henry's place, and
Yeah.
yeah, I did all the driving, so I can share this story all I want. I do it all the
Yes.
time on interviews. I said, Mark, I can talk crap about you all I want because I drove you around for almost 5 years. It was me doing
Mhm.
all the driving, me, Titus, and Mark Henry. I did all the driving. And when Mark Henry started, he was driving Big Yoko around. So he would always
Yeah.
tell us about all the stories him driving around Yoko during the live events on the afternoon. He had to drive and get some chicken for Yoko. So I said, Mark, I drove you around. I can say whatever I want about you. So I
Come
share
on.
these stories because we've all said something that we probably didn't mean to say or wasn't thinking clearly.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, Mark and I are like tight, very tight.
Yeah. Yeah. He gets a lot of as another vet, he gets a lot of praise. I noticed from just so many wrestlers, both current and former, just all around, like who literally just love the attitude he carries, man. And it's just dope when you do your haze, and I'm pretty sure you probably had some rookies in there in the
Yeah.
coming up at your time, that literally you would be like, hey man, I'm a hazy, but it's
Oh
love though,
no, no, not me. No,
Oh,
not
not
me.
you.
I'm that guy in the locker room. Everyone like me. I'm very quiet unless
Hmm.
you say something that triggers me. I remember
Ah.
Hornswoggle, and I share this story too. Before I came out, I had a
Hmm.
hard hat from Mr. No Days Off on the back of my trunks, and
Hmm.
we were in the locker room. He's like, "What's that on the back of your trunks? A gay hard hat?" And I just lost it in the locker room. I said, "Hey, I got to keep it PG. I got god
Yeah.
babies around." But I said, "Hey man, don't you ever talk to me like that. I'm one of the nicest ones here in the locker room. Don't you ever say that." And I just
Yeah.
stormed out. No one said anything. So this is before I
Wow.
came out. So like if the situation happens like that, I'm gonna call you out on it. But I was
Yeah.
always well liked and very shy, very quiet amongst my peers.
Yeah. I can tell, man. I mean, you can just tell that you're a very likable and respected guy in the locker room, man. But it's dope to see that also it's like, hey, man, don't take my likeness for granted, man. Like I
Yeah.
have a side where if I have to speak my mind, I will speak it. So what I would love to know is you mentioned being a trailblazer, and that's always important, and I'd like to bring up two particular
I see that
figures.
WrestleMania sign.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
one thing I gotta put on the hat.
I gotta always rep it, man.
Yeah,
I'm a big wrestling fan. I got to get more other companies around to put up and post up in the room, man. But that's just to show my fandom, man. I've been around, like you. I've been a vet fan, I guess, for years.
yeah,
So it's kind of like, it's good to talk this, and even with what you talk about coming out, like into this media field, man. I was kind of thinking about it, never thought I could really get into it, but knew I had personality, and then boom, it was like, oh, hey, let's do this podcasting thing, man. And it was an idea the last couple of years, and I just stepped foot on the gas, man. And to have such a short length of episodes and be able to talk with guests like yourself is showing like, yo, this is something you're definitely meant to do, brother. Keep on going forth with it. So, for you, Mr. Rosser, what I would love to ask is, being a trailblazer in a way, like what there's two superstars that come to mind right now, that are really repping in, both in separate companies, but one in a company that of course you're affiliated with in WWE, and another one in, I guess, I'm not going to call it a rival company, but just, an up and coming company in AEW. I would love to talk to you about Miss Nyla Rose and Sonya Deville, especially Sonya Deville, specifically because it seems that, since your departure, once she kind of made her rise, she's also kind of been carrying the mantle, loud and proud a lot of times. And if you notice, a lot of times she'll have the rainbow flag, usually probably in her attire, or somewhere, just to keep the pride going. And I would love to know your thoughts on both of those superstars, as far as like, as someone who definitely reps and is a trailblazer, and like you said, doing something that wasn't easy to do. Like what are your thoughts on these two superstars?
well, more representation, the better. With my whole block tape movement, I always say strength in numbers. And
Yes.
Sonya, that's my girl. I got nothing but love for her. Anytime I see her backstage, we're just like, we don't miss a beat. And I
Yes.
just recently posted a picture of one of her Pride T-shirts. So she's repped the
Nice.
block hate movement. I had to rep her.
Yes.
And there's room for everyone at the finish line. You know what I mean?
Yes. Absolutely.
Uh, Nyla Rose, nothing but love for her too. She's making moves in AEW. I always say, don't get fooled to like one organization for another. Like it all, like
Yes.
AEW, like Impact, like
Yes.
NWA, like it all, man. Like
Yes.
New Japan, which is a
Yes.
goal of mine to wrestle either New Japan or somewhere in Southeast Asia, because I've never
Yes.
wrestled anywhere in Southeast Asia. So that's a goal of mine, to wrestle in Asia.
Okay.
So I always say like it all, but with Nyla Rose, you got to support her, and I support
Yes.
her now more than ever with
Yes.
uh, the administration that we're currently in, rolling back the laws to transgender.
Yes.
They need love too, and you got to have
Absolutely.
empathy. That's one thing that I teach kids when I talk all over the world, and even adults. I say, I'm going to give you guys the word of the day, and it's
Yes.
empathy. Go home to mommy and daddy and say that you met this really cool wrestler
Mhm.
who told a great story, who was larger than life. He was huge. He had big muscles, and he just had an amazing story. And he gave us a word of the day, and it was empathy. Have empathy
Yes.
for one another. Learn about different cultures. Learn about
Yes.
different ethnicities, because I tell them, the more you learn, the more you earn.
Yes.
Um, so empathy, just learn. And it's very important that we support someone like Nyla Rose, because she
Yeah.
needs it more than ever.
Yes. I agree. I totally agree. And I mean, it's again, it's just so great to see representation in just about every company, man. And I agree with you. Love all companies. I love them all. I try to keep up with every company. Sometimes it's hard because like week to week, it's like they may come on all at the same time, where you're like,
Yeah,
it's tough to keep up with everything. That's if I had I wouldn't even call it a complaint. If I had a concern, it's just like, oh man, there's so much wrestling now that like technology's made it possible to just watch everything, and it's like, man, you still got to be a little productive too. So it's just like,
exactly.
but man,
Exactly. Like my co-host Arnold Telegarta, that I do Pro and Pro Wrestling podcast with. he
Uh-huh.
keeps me up to date. He's my real life neighbor who I met here in California.
Yes.
Right before my release, I moved full time from Florida to Cali, and I met Arnold. Just as neighbors, he was a big wrestling fan. He recognized me. He started flipping out. I said, "Oh my God, this guy that lives next door to me knows where I live now." And now, now we're great friends. We've been friends since my release,
Yes.
and again, he's like my therapist. So he keeps me up to date on what's going on. But
Yes.
even when growing up, the technology I had, wasn't advanced. It wasn't as
Yeah.
advanced as it is for us. So
Yeah.
the Monday Night Wars for me as a kid, we had three TV set up. One TV in the living room with
Oh,
Raw, the other
yes.
with Nitro, and then the other Monday Night TV, the black and white had Monday Night Football. So we had all that
Yes.
going on back in the '90s. So that's how it was.
Yeah, man, those were the days, bro. I love what social media has now, but sometimes I do. Maybe it's the nostalgia in me, but I do kind of like going back to those days of like flipping back and forth and like having, like you said, two or three TVs next to each other and just
Yeah.
like, man, those were some really fun days. And again, it's good to see wrestling just flourished now even more, you know what I mean? Because everybody's like, oh, WWE, the big fish, and it's like, well, here comes AEW now, and I mean, everybody's like, well, cool, now we got something that can quote unquote rival in a good way, right? And like you said, Impact is resurged itself in so many different ways now, and it's just great. And even for you, man, someone who's right now still occupying himself, still like you said, got a lot left in the tank. There's no telling where we could see you. And I'm personally excited to know where you could end up, man, in the future, because there's so many great options right now. But New Japan definitely wouldn't be a bad one, man. I would love to see you in New Japan. There's some killer matches you could definitely have out that way, man. And a lot of people have reinvented themselves in so many different ways out there, I've noticed, man. So it would be great to see you out there.
I'm working on it as we speak. So just stand by for my social media, Real Fred Rosser,
Yes.
Instagram, Twitter. I would say my government name because I do interviews and people are like, "Oh, Darren Young." I said, "Oh, be careful with that because you might get a lawsuit by WWE." But I always that's my icebreaker and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I'm like, Darren Young, Fred Rosser,
Come
they all
on.
know me. They
Yeah.
all know me.
Oh yeah, man. Like you were always an unforgettable person. I mean, real wrestling fans to me, I feel like real wrestling fans remember everyone. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
it's not necessarily about the quote unquote Hall of Fame like careers and everything. Like, you know, everybody can't in the NFL, everybody's not in the Hall of Fame. In the this and that, everybody's not in the Hall of Fame, but it doesn't mean you still can't make yourself credible and known. Like people are gonna always remember who you are, if they're real fans of, like you said, if you're a fan of the game, if you're a fan of the sport, all of these things, man. And like I said, you had a lot of great entertainment moments, and especially those times with you and Titus, man. Like you guys were gold, man. And I can't seem to. Here was what was so funny, right? As I was going through like credentials and everything, and when I saw that you guys only won the belts one time, I don't know why it felt like you guys were multi-time tag team champions to me, because I was just like, are you serious? Only a one time run with the belts? Like, I could have sworn these guys had it like numerous times because you guys were that entertaining. Like before the New Day really formed, you guys were around. You know what I mean? And like a dream match, I gotta say this dream match that I always wanted to see with the primetime players. Rest in peace to my man Shaq Gaspard. I wanted to see you guys in Crime Time go at it so bad back when you guys formed. I was just like, yo, man, that's so entertaining and charismatic. Like them versus Crime Time could be like the ultimate feud right now. I was hoping like WWE, please bring Crime Time back. Let this match happen, and then boom, and now it's never too late to say we got a new tag team that's pretty charismatic out there that reminds me a lot of you guys, and you got the Street Profits out here now doing some things. So I would love to replace my other dream match with a dream match like that, and if we can make that happen in the future, that would be very, very dope to see. I would love to see that feud, man, because that would be something entertaining to see. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. Like, what was it? What is it like? Because Titus, much like yourself, man, Titus is such a great man who does a lot of great things in the community and does a lot of good things, man. What are some of the things you remember most about traveling on the road with this guy, like night in and night out?
Um, Titus was the businessman. Again, I said I did all the driving.
Uh-huh.
Titus would get cheap hotels, running from getting them from for $120 down to like $54, under $50. So Titus was the businessman.
Uh-huh.
I was the driver. So because he would just fall asleep at the wheel, I said, just let me drive. I
Uh-huh.
play my R&B tunes. We'll drive 300 miles to the next city. Don't bother
Yes.
me. I won't bother you. We
Yes.
always got along great. And, you know, people always say, and it's funny, you say, oh, you guys were only one-time tag team champions. And I wish you would have had the titles more.
Yeah.
And I say, regardless, we did it, man. Whether it
Yeah.
was a one-time deal, five-time deal, 10-time deal, of course, woulda, coulda, shoulda, but
Yeah.
we did it, and it'll go down in the record books as us being tag team champions. But
Yes.
whether it was Crime Time or currently the Street Profits, I think we would have definitely had stellar matches, and all
Yeah.
those guys, top to bottom, are
Yes.
all similar but different, all different
Yes.
types of personalities. And like I say, representation not only in the LGBTQ community, but in also the Black community is so
Yes.
important and so crucial nowadays. We
Yes.
we got to have each other's back, and again, never say never. Never say never. I stay ready, so I don't have to get ready for that
Yes.
comeback. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, Titus, he's my number one guy. And the one thing I learned about him,
Mm.
uh, he learned how to wrestle because when he first stepped foot in FCW,
Mm-hmm.
uh, there were people that didn't want to get in the ring with him, didn't want to work out with him because he was straight off the football field. I had that
Yeah.
experience in wrestling, and this was something I wanted to do as a kid. So a lot of people didn't respect him as a football player just getting into wrestling.
Yes.
But I was the first one there at FCW in Tampa, last one to leave working with them, saying you don't need to do much because you're a big guy, you're 6'5", 280, 280. You don't need to do much. So I worked with him, and I said, Titus, the same people that are shitting on you are going to be kissing your ass. And they are years later.
Yeah.
But the one thing he taught me was the most intimidating thing about Vince McMahon is his office door. Once you bust down his door, you got to have a game plan, and the sky's the limit. So that's one
Mm.
thing Titus was not afraid of. Knock on his door and say, "Hey, what's up, boss? You got anything for us tonight?"
Yeah.
Because the squeaky wheel gets the oil. You know what I mean?
Oh
Like
yeah.
you got to make noise.
Come on.
And he made noise. And there would be times when he would just bust in. I'm like, wait, we don't got a game plan. He's going to be doing all the yapping because he is the businessman. And I'm just going to be
Uh-huh.
standing there. But Vince saw a liking in us. He saw that we were hungry. And he's the one that saw us backstage and the camaraderie that we had and said, hey, let's make these guys a tag team. And that's when John Laurinaitis debuted us on SmackDown.
Yes, man, and I'm telling you, since then, man, what a debut! I mean, like I said, there's anyone and everyone who's not gonna like sit there and say the primetime players, because to me, you guys are definitely one of my all-time favorite tag teams. I mean, like it's not always about how many titles you won. Like you said, I mean, the fact that you guys did it, it's in the record books. Like, also, it's like what you did while you had them. I mean, you guys were entertaining with them, without them. I mean, like regardless, you guys were always a memorable tag team, and it was such a great pairing, man. It's great to see that you guys, even today, to this day, still maintain such a dope relationship. And speaking of relationships, you've been really high on Randy. So, like, how I mean, it's an understatement to ask how long you guys have known each other. Obviously, you guys have known each other like way back, but like, Randy's a guy, that I guess if you look like in a fan's perspective, if you read like dirt sheets, a lot of people would claim Randy was like this quote unquote douchebag, you know what I mean, who would just like do stuff behind the scenes if you quote unquote tick them off, I guess. But like, like at the same time though, I seem to hear and just I've never obviously met Randy yet. I hope to have the pleasure to meet him someday, and and even chop it up with him as well. But just from interviews, especially nowadays, when I see interviews, I mean, it just shows that he really does seem like a very very great dope guy to have and know. Like, talk about your relationship with Randy Orton and how that's been for you.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has layers, and with him, there's layers that you need to get through. Now, if you're just randomly running into him at the airport or something like that, he's going to have those layers that you just don't have enough time to get through.
Yeah,
But him putting in the work, him being the best at what he does, and you're traveling with him, you're on the roster with him. When I do a tour with WWE, I sit in the middle of the bus. The
yes,
people that are quiet sit in the front of the bus, the production people, rowdy
yes,
guys like Roman and Dean, those guys sit in the back, the Usos.
yeah,
I sit in the middle. Randy likes to sit in the middle. And he's a quiet guy too backstage. I'm a quiet guy too. And I think we all grow with time, especially with age.
yes,
Age makes us wiser. He's got a family now, a
yeah,
huge family, a huge, beautiful family. His wife loves my social media stuff, and I can just see it now. His wife's always on social media. She's liking my stuff, and then he sees
yes.
it, and then he's like, "Oh, that's nice, kid. That's nice," with his deep voice.
Yeah,
Uh, but he's always been the type of guy. He's been a big believer in THC and cannabis, and they used to call me the medicine man. So anytime we would be backstage, he would just openly vape away, and then he would offer it to me, and I'd be like, "No," and no one ever knew about me.
yeah,
He would offer it to me, and I'd be like, "Oh, no, not right now, not right now," because eyes are watching. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm,
Randy, he can do whatever he wants, but me,
yeah,
I always had eyes watching me. So Randy, like I said, when I came out, he gave me a hug when I first came out, and it's, "Hey man, same like CM Punk." Randy Orton said, "Hey, if you have any problems with anyone in the locker room, you let me know and I'll take care of it." That meant the world
yeah,
to me. I mean, I'm a grown man, and probably one of the toughest guys in the locker room. Like,
yeah,
I think people were sometimes maybe intimidated by, losing to me. If you want to get into, some of the struggles of coming out, people might not want want to lose you, want to lose to you, but if this was real, if this was brawl for all, it'd be a lot different. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
it is it is what it is. If I'm gonna take an L, I'm gonna go out swinging. If I'm gonna get a W, I'm gonna
Come on,
celebrate like crazy. Again, it's all entertainment, man. Scripted entertainment. So there are people
yeah.
that catch feelings for wanting to take an L, but hey, it is what it is. But Randy, like I said, last time I saw him was right before the pandemic
Mhm.
in Bakersfield, and it took 20 minutes to get a picture, and that's on my Twitter pin story
Yeah,
because it's a cool picture. His wife likes it. I like it. He likes
come
it.
on.
He's like, "Oh man, it looks like I'm blushing in the picture." Hey, Randy has that glow about him. So
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Randy's good in my book.
good part. Yeah, and, again, shout out to Mr. Orton. Shout out to everybody that
Yeah,
has is just all about supportive and being embracive, man. My boy to
yeah,
put the cool specs back on now.
yeah.
Sun must be shining again.
Yeah, exactly. The sun was shining. I'm getting a headache up in here, but yeah, I like to do my workouts. I like to do sometimes my podcast outside by the pool just to get in that air.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, it is what it is.
Love that, man. Love that. So, quick non-wrestling related question, because I'm gonna take
Mm-hmm,
it back a little bit to our previous conversation when you were
mm-hmm.
talking about your times with Titus on the road, and you said when you would drive, you was putting on your R&B. So
Oh
I
yeah.
take it you're a big R&B fan when it comes to genres of music. Like, you seem like a man that likes all genres, but R&B seems to be your number one main genre to go to. Am I wrong in that statement there?
I always say that there's a time and a place for the hippity hoppity. But when if I'm doing the driving and we're going 300 miles, city to city to city to city, if you want me to drive, I gotta listen to my tunes. And
Ooh.
I'm a big R&B head. Some of my artists that you might not be familiar with, but after this episode, definitely look them up. If
Okay.
you're an R&B head, this one guy called Daily,
Okay. Daily.
Daley, and I kind of gave him away because a lot of people think that he's a girl, but it's really a guy.
Wow.
Daily and
Okay.
Jameson, JMSN. Those are two artists that I
Okay.
had discovered on Spotify, and I literally uh, found them on social media and literally stalked them. And I use this app called Bands in Town. Living out here in LA, there's always tons of shows performing.
Yeah.
And I so happened to see that Daly and Jameson were performing in LA. I reached out to them on social media, of course, being verified on social media, and they look you up. They see what kind of work you do. Oh, he's a wrestler. He's the first openly gay WWE superstar. And then these guys become fans of me just as much as I'm fans of them. And I believe in
Yeah.
supporting the independent artists.
Come on.
I love Jaheim. I love
Yeah.
Brandy, Monica. I love the
Yeah.
OGs. You know, I love the
Yeah.
veterans in the game. But I
Ooh.
also like the people that are up and coming, people that are
Yes.
getting discovered on Spotify, people I've never heard, or people that have never heard these artists. And I shared on my social media. So when I reached out to these guys for tickets, they hooked me up with tickets, and I was almost like their marketing, you know, on my
Come
end.
on.
You know, I would always highlight them on
Yeah.
my Instagram story. Come check these guys out. I'll be there, and that's like that's my fun. I don't
Yeah.
go to the bars anymore. I stopped drinking when I moved out to LA in August 2017 because you know I would drink at the wrong times. Let's
Mhm.
just say that, and I didn't want to have to be dependent on it, so haven't drunk since August 2017, and I tell people I traded Tito's vodka for green tea. So anytime you'll see me either at a tea shop before the pandemic, or you see
Mhm.
me at like a nice little R&B concert. So
Yes.
that's my
Yes.
vibe: calm, cool, and collected.
Calm, cool, and collected. That's the way to be, man. I'm a big like of course hip hop is definitely my number one, but like R&B I definitely love, and of course my neo soul, man. I gotta have my neo soul. You know
Yes,
what I mean? Like
yes.
I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. You know, I reside in Atlanta here, but I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. So anything that's like blues and soulful and like really gives
Ah,
you those vibes, oh man, I'm a sucker for it every time, man. I gotta get my listens in, you know what I mean? So that's dope, man, and I love that. You know, you definitely put me on some artists that I definitely will check out. We have
Daily,
Daily
Daley, Daily, and Jameson,
and Jameson.
JMSN. Yeah.
Okay, so shout out to those two compliments of Mr. Fred Rosser here, because those are guys that you just might catch on our alternate show on the OTS brand,
Ah,
Pass the Ox.
yes,
But wait, that's a
yes.
shameless plug right there. So that's a shameless plug out there for any of you music fans out there. Check out Pass the Ox on the OTS Guys Network. But
Yeah.
coming back, because this is Life of Botch, we gonna come talk to some more wrestling with my man here, because it never gets old, and I can't really let you go without talking about one of the most controversial yet most large stables, yet most, however you want to put it. I mean, there's so many different ways to describe you guys, because all of you guys were so talented, and as they say, we're talented on our own, but together we're one heck of a force. The Nexus, man, oh my gosh. Like, can we just talk about the greatness that has come out of the Nexus? I mean, like I said, you and Michael Tarver and Justin Gabriel, you know what I mean, and Daniel Bryan, you know what I mean, like Wade Barrett. I mean, the list goes on. Skip Sheffield, Ryback, however you want to, like, so much, so much talent came out of that crop, and please, man, talk about how dope it has been to just develop a brotherhood with those guys, and literally, like, still keep up with them to this day. Like you said, having a podcast and being able to just chop it up with them one by one, and just be like, hey, how's life been going for you so far, man? Catch us up.
Yeah, June was the 10th anniversary of the Nexus debut, and according to the leader Wade, there was only 7 members. A lot of people include Daniel Bryan, but the day that we caused havoc on WWE, we weren't considered the Nexus until after.
Yeah,
So
true.
because he was terminated soon after that, and then brought back at SummerSlam. But
True.
again, that's another angle where yeah, the outcome should have been a little bit different. We were new guys that weren't established that should
Mhm.
have won at SummerSlam. But to
Yeah.
just be able to be a part of such a dominant force and be able to capture the reactions that one Monday Night Raw when we just tore up everything in
Yeah.
Miami, Florida, it's something that I'll never forget. And that's something that recently having Iron Mike Tarver, I like to call him,
Yes.
on Pro and Bro Wrestling podcast. That's something that I expressed to him. Like, no matter the outcome, we still did it, man. And they
Yes.
still talk about us. And before the pandemic, I believe that we would have came back and maybe been at WrestleMania. I was invited personally to be a part of Access again and do some stuff for the WWE Network. But the
Yes.
pandemic, they called me for it. A couple of weeks
Yeah.
later, they said, no, we're going to have to cancel it because of
Yeah.
of the of what's going on. So I was devastated, man. I was
Yeah.
really devastated. But again, I was on their recent show, The Bump, so they
Yeah.
haven't forgotten about me.
Of
But
course. Of course.
the next is something that will go down in history. We're all still in a text thread.
Yes.
I'm very guilty of sending some disturbing, just gifs, just for the heck of it.
Yes.
Sometimes we'll send messages, maybe checking on one another, or a picture, or something that's just totally random that all 7 of us will get, and I'll just send disturbing gifs. So I get a kick out of that.
Yeah.
I get a kick out of that. But yeah, our first guest on the podcast was he. We chopped it up. Second was Tarver. So I'm gonna probably run down all the members because I don't know if Ryback's done that. I don't know if he's had every member of the Nexus on his podcast because I know he has the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, but like anyone that I have on is very special to me. So after I
Yes.
interviewed Heath, I said, well, why not I get each one and kind of run down our history, our moments, what we thought of this, what we thought of that. And yeah, just our newest podcast, episode 53, I believe. It's with Tarver.
Nice. Okay. So that well, if Ryback hasn't done it, you have definitely beat him to the punch and made one
Yeah.
heck of an idea to where now pressure's on Ryback. Pressure's on,
Yes.
buddy. Now you got to do it on your show. You know what I mean? It's like now you got to
Yes.
do the reunions on your show, man. So
Yeah, because
it's
I've been on his show. I don't know who else has been on his show, but I know I was on his show a long time ago.
okay.
So yeah, I think it's a good idea. And content is so
Yes.
important. Now, I don't really necessarily care about the numbers with me because if I would have cared about the numbers, I would have quit a long time ago. But it's
Yeah.
literally every week I'm doing a therapy session with my neighbor, talking about something that he loves, I love,
Yes.
and it's practice for me at talking. It's practice for me sharing my story on my platform, YouTube,
Yes.
iTunes, all my social media platforms. And
Yes.
again, the numbers aren't important to me, but if there are 1,000 people, 2,000 people, 3,000 people that tune in, then those are the loyals. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's who that's who's hearing my message, who's hearing the story, and who's having fun with it. And again, it's a laid back podcast, no pressure at all, and we just vibe it out.
Yes, yes. And I love that, man. And that's again the beauty of what we do cuz we're both podcasters here and that is the beauty of what we do cuz like you said it's a therapy session, it's a legit chop up conveniently enough with the pandemic and socially distancing and everything. It's exactly what the guidelines are because we're virtual here. So you know what I mean? It's like it plays all its parts, but more importantly, whether you're riding in the car, whether you're maybe flying the skies in the airplane, maybe you're surfing, maybe you're out on a boat ride, who knows? Wherever you're listening to, however you're listening, we appreciate you for listening and being a loyal listener, because at the end of the day, we probably would be doing what we're doing because, like you said, it's a therapy session for us. It's fun, but we still appreciate those of you who listen and enjoy real good dialogue and conversation amongst real people.
And I'm excited about my next week's guest. So this week we had Michael Tarver. Next week it's going to be Chavo Guerrero. And I'm very excited about this because he was my NXT Pro on NXT Redemption, and this was like the end of his career with WWE. So he wasn't really into it, but some of my experiences with Chavo were way back in 2003 when I did my first ever skit with WWE. I was a detective with the Basham brothers at the time, trying to swerve the Guerreros. So that was my first ever skit with WWE involving Eddie Guerrero and Chavo. So from him being my pro on NXT Redemption, we've had our history. So to have him on our podcast, who he actually said he's looking to get into the podcast world himself. So for him to be on our podcast, he can kind of see the flow that we have. So he was my coach on NXT Redemption. I'm going to be his coach in how to do a podcast. So that'll be fun next week. That'll be fun next week.
Oh, man. Well, I definitely know I'm tuning in for that. I got to listen. I got to see how that one turns out, because I know a lot of times, man, just when they did the mentor aspect, like from the original NXT and everything, that was always entertaining to watch. I did love
I didn't like it.
That. You didn't like it?
I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all, because I would say if I wanted to do American Gladiators or American Ninja Warrior, I would have done that. But like obstacle challenges, juggling challenges, if you see me juggling and you're not going to take me seriously because I don't know how to juggle. So like you're kind of exposed in a way like, to get this guy. So for me, it took me longer to eventually get over. And, I was part of the Nexus. I was part of the Primetime Players. And finally, on my own, I was getting over by myself with the Bob Backlund, make Darren Young great again. And people say, oh, that was a bad idea by WWE, but it was actually my idea, because I know tag teams don't last forever. And I've done appearances with Bob Backlund, and he's very energetic. I'm very energetic. He doesn't stand during his autograph signings. He stands during his autograph signings. I stand because I don't like sitting down. I like to get personable with my fans. And I said, after I'm done teaming with Titus, maybe I'll bring him along as my life coach, because that's one thing that was missing is managers. And he's very out there. I'm calm, cool, and collected, so opposites attract. So again, I go back to that story about being afraid, being intimidated in Vince McMahon's door. Well, I had already mustered the courage to build a relationship with him. So once I was done teaming with Titus, I wrote out the storyline. I had visuals. I took the idea from Mike Tyson and his trainer, Cuss. They were like strange bedfellows. So I took the idea, wrote it down, proposed it to Vince McMahon, and he liked it. And he called up Bob Backlund personally, and we started running with it. It's just unfortunate that the people that were under Vince McMahon didn't have my back. And, I'll never say a bad thing about Vince McMahon. He gave me the opportunity, he always believed in me. It's just, when you have so many people working under you, they have their own agendas. They want to get their own storylines over. The Make Darren Young Great Again, that wasn't their idea, it was mine. So I'm happy I did it, and that's another memory that I can always cherish.
It was very memorable, and I see for one where you were headed with that, and I listened to the New Days podcast one time, and I remember their very first episode was talking about the process they went through when they first formed, and how Vince's idea was this, and it was like, not quite what we want, but we got to roll with it. If we got this far with it, then we just going to take it and roll with what we got. And how just some of the slightest things could have caused that not to work, but it spun in their favor to where I think recently they just celebrated being together for 6 years straight, the longest
Yes.
stable to be together, and then all African American at that. So that's a beautiful thing to see, especially as an African American individual. It's so dope to see that the New Day out of any stable, and there's a lot of great ones out of there. You know, like for them to still be that strong and still together, it just signifies a lot. But with what you were doing with that, it I saw the concept. I thought it was pretty genius, and it was, you know, it was a fun play. I don't what I don't remember is, was that a play off of the whole Donald Trump situation, or did that kind of happen after the fact? Like did that kind of come from that? Because that's the only thing I don't remember at this point was like,
Yeah, the Make Darren Young Great Again, that wasn't my idea. I just proposed the idea of him being my life coach. And
oh, okay,
then
got
I
you.
had no idea, but for someone that's in, you just got to run with it. You know, it could have been
Yeah,
it could have worked as a heel, it could have worked as a baby face, but
got you.
that was their idea, and I just ran with it.
You
So
just ran with it.
again,
Okay.
I just ran with it, but I had the idea of Bob Backlund and me as my life coach because
Yeah.
Titus dumped me again, you know? So I'm down
Yeah.
and out. I need a life
Yeah.
coach to lift my spirits up, and he was the one.
Well, you guys definitely did. You and Bob, y'all definitely did a lot of entertaining like vignettes and like promo work. Like, I mean, you know, it was a dope segment. I do really wish that would have went further because I was rooting
Mm-hmm.
for it, man. Like, you know, because I love the success of tag teams, but when tag teams do decide to kind of like go their separate routes, you know, and they go, you know,
Mm-hmm.
split ways again. I always like to see, you know, okay, well, let's see, you know, I want to see you flourish, you know what I mean? So
Yes.
like, you know, again, that's why, you know, personally, I'm rooting for your success even now. I mean, I know this pandemic is kind of just like really
Yes.
trying to stop momentum right now, but we're working through it, you know, and pretty
Yes.
soon we will be back to normal. I love to speak positivity on here. I'm a
Yes.
character, but I'm a
Yes.
positive character, darn it. So I like to tell
Yes.
people like, hey, we're gonna have some fun, you know. So my final real question for you, because I know we you know we gotta let you go real soon. But my final question for you, good sir, this is kind of a funny one because I've seen you like poke fun at it and on your on-screen character a few times, but
Mm-hmm.
what was it like, or how did it feel, you know, being like labeled as like a quote unquote black version of John Cena in a way, like with the resemblance there? Like, what was that like, you know, just coming up in the business like that? And like how often was that brought up? Was that brought up even backstage, or was that just something fans like? How did that come
Always.
about? Like, what was that like for you?
Always. I always say I wish I made John Cena money. Everyone's on a different pay scale, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Uh, but I guess, you know, I think I resemble him a little bit as a darker version. And I think it's that all American chin. I just have that chin about me. I don't like
Yeah.
pictures where I don't like taking pictures from the side because I just don't like my chin. So everything's
Yeah.
got to be like straight on. Just me personally. Everyone has their something that's negative that they might not like about them. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, John, uh, I wish I could have done a storyline with him. But yeah,
Yes.
they
Oh,
they digged at it a little bit on social media, but nothing ever came out of it. But yeah, like I said, I wish I made John Cena type money, man. But it is
yeah.
what it is. He's one of the hardest workers that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Uh, do his thing, you know, do his thing. The most talented superstar I've ever been able to share the locker room with.
Yeah.
So nothing but respect for him.
Absolutely. And I mean, hey, man, that may be a thought, but again, with what you're doing, my brother, I'm here to speak this positivity into your life that it is never too late to make John Cena type of money, my friend.
Yes.
And you continue to just do what you do, and you will
Yeah.
be well on your way to it because you see, you're a very intelligent individual. So I know you know how to take your finances. Like I said, you seem like you live perfectly comfortably right now doing it. You know what you're doing with your money. So just keep on investing, keep on working hard the way you were working, Mr. No Days Off, because I can't forget
Exactly.
that title, Mr. No Days Off, because I know you still hang on to that title. So it's like Mr.
Hey,
No Days Off all day.
hey, it's a lifetime of constant grind, struggle, success, and it's not only a nickname that I live by, but it's a nickname that I stress for everyone to live by. Like my
Yeah,
Sundays are my Mondays, so my week
yeah.
has already started today.
Come on.
I take one day off from working out, but I do stretching mobility because, like I said earlier, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Hmm.
And like I said, I got to keep moving. Health as well. I've got my little side hustles. I speak to communities online, and I got to do what I got to do to keep
Come on.
spreading my message until I'm 6 feet
Yes.
under. So there's a lot of work for me to do. Not all superheroes wear capes. You know what
Come
I
on.
mean?
Come on. Come on, man. Let them know. Not all superheroes wear capes. I mean, we saw that again, rest in peace to Mr. Shad Gaspar. We saw that as a living example that you can be a hero in any way, shape, and fashion. And I mean, I believe it was MVP that listed the saying, like superheroes don't wear capes. Sometimes they wear Tims, and it was like he was, infamous for them Tim boots with crime time. So it was like, say how you want to
Uh,
say it, man. Everybody's a hero in some way.
every time, every time you mention his name, I get goosebumps, man, because as an extra, I kind of with the afro, even as an extra in the early 2000s, I had an afro, and everyone at the time, I
Uh,
wasn't John Cena, but everyone would say because of him that I was Ron Simmons' son. So he would always find me. He would always find me backstage and corner me and
yeah.
say, "Hey, man, come in the locker room." And I'm extra nervous, and he'd be
Uh,
like, "Hey, Ron, I found your son here," and Ron would be like, "Oh, damn," and like if people didn't know who I was by Shad, they knew me by being Ron Simmons' son because of Shad. So yeah, I still get
wow.
goosebumps every time his name gets brought up. But yeah,
Yeah.
I still can't believe it, man.
Yeah, man. Me either, man. It's just been one of those years, man, and it makes me even wonder for you, like personally, what so far with 20, we are kind of halfway through 2020. What has 2020 really taught you individually as a person right now so far?
Uh, that's a great question, man. Great question. Well, like I said earlier, being able to work out and be consistent with that, and being able to be in my god baby's life more often. I'm teaching them more. I'm learning more from them. I'm learning about different ways to kind of engineer the best workouts in the backyard. I'm
Yeah.
glad my last time in the gym was early March, So for me to be able to maintain what I have through discipline has taught me a lot that I can get through so much.
Yes.
And I always say, like I said earlier, don't die with the story and you tell it. I've been able to do these videos for universities and elementary schools, graduation videos to kind of share my message,
Yeah.
digitally. And,
Yes.
that's the most rewarding part about this whole pandemic because I can look at all the negative stuff, but
Hmm.
that's just going to turn my frown,
Hmm.
even more worse.
Come on.
I got to turn my
Yeah.
frown upside down and keep my head up and be that inspiration. Will
Yeah.
Smith is an inspiration to me. The
Come on.
Rock, Denzel
Yes.
Washington,
Come on.
Tom Hanks. Those are inspirations that I look to through social media. So I just know how it is for people to look up to me for inspiration. So I've got to
Yes.
be that pillar of change and be that pillar of hope, man. I
Yes.
get knocked down 7 times, I get back up 8 times.
Come
I
on.
gotta mirror Muhammad Ali, but not really say that I'm Muhammad Ali. But you gotta mirror
Yeah.
him. You gotta mirror his wisdom. That's what I
Yeah.
do every day, daily.
Come on. And that's beautiful, man. And you had a phenomenal answer to that question, man. And I just want to say you definitely in your own right, man. You are definitely an inspiration on the level of all of those gentlemen that you just mentioned. Man. You are definitely an inspiration because it's not easy to to walk the walk that you have walked so far to this point and still, like you said, keep on getting up, still keep on walking, and your path is far from over, my friend. So you got
Thank you.
so much more to accomplish right here on the Life's a Botch podcast. We just want to thank you for sharing such a dope time with us, man. I've really enjoyed this conversation and dialogue with you. You are an amazing individual, and we're rooting for you right here on the Life's a Botch podcast. So I can't wait to see the future success that you have both in the ring and outside the ring now. You know what I mean? Because you're doing even more things. So continue to just, do your thing, man. We're rooting for you. We're following you. We're right behind you. Anything you need, we're always here to help, always here to support. Real quick, man, go ahead and just tell the people, tell them about your podcast and tell them where they can find you personally so they can continue to follow the movement, man.
For anyone that's listening, you are listening to Mr. No Days Off, WWE veteran superstar, trailblazer, man of the hour, literally the man of the hour on this amazing podcast where I always say, don't die with the story and you tell it. You can reach out to me on social media at Real Fred Rosser, Twitter, Instagram. If you don't have anyone in your family that supports you, be a part of my family on social media. And continue to block the hate and salute the great, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
That's what we're talking about. Awesome, awesome. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, it's your favorite host, your boy, the Prince of Botch, Dwayne, and you already know where to find your boy. You can follow me at Dwayne Dickey Jr., or you can follow us right here at the Life's of Botch podcast. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you comment. Share your thoughts with us. Let us know what you think of today's episode. And as always, you have officially been botched.